Both 2015 and 16 are rather good years. It's probably the periods of the highest growth rate since the financial crisis took place. The situation is, of course, quite differentiated across the region. The big economies like Poland, Romania, Czech Republic, Slovakia, I mean the medium-sized economies, are particularly doing quite well. So one can say that the impact of the financial crisis, which led to high private debt in quite a few of these economies, is over. The firm sector starts to invest. Households are consuming more, wages have gone up, the labor markets have improved, etc. There are other parts of the Central Eastern European region, like Russia, Ukraine, the Balkan countries, which are going to become, hopefully at some point, the next members of the European Union. There, the situation is more critical. Of course, Russia is in a sort of very inward-looking situation. Not only the sanctions, but big ruble devaluation. A strategy has changed towards import substitution, which is not working out very well. Lack of interest in foreign investment, technology transfer. And of course, the big problem of the Russian economy is that it has shrunk into a highly specialized energy economy. And what would be needed is, of course, an opening up towards diversification, a broadening of industrial structure. Ukraine, the other big economy, of course, suffers from the big conflict. Yeah? A big chunk of the Ukrainian economies lies in the east. That was the industrial hub. And that, of course, is partly occupied by the separatists. So this industrial hub is basically dysfunctional. Industrial production has fallen by 50–60% in this area. So there one would think the Western regions have to take over the burden of recovery. And in the long run, I'm confident about the Ukraine economy because it's a big economy, just like Poland and Romania. There will be an interest in the internal market, but huge efforts have to be done, not only locally, in terms of political changes and so on, but also support from outside. I think there are some parts of Central Eastern Europe which are highly integrated with the European Union. Of course, the new members, which are quite a few of them, the Baltics, the Central European countries, Bulgaria, Romania. Then we have the Western Balkan region, these small units like Serbia, Montenegro, Macedonia, etc., which are still in an unstable both economic and political situation, but also embarked on growth which is quite reasonable, about 3%, 3.5%. And then I think somewhat separate from that is the Russia-Ukraine situation. One of the very good developments over the last 10–15 years is that there's something, we call it the central manufacturing hub, which has developed. And it is really focused around production networks, which have developed out of Germany, Austria, very much led by the car industry. And these countries have locked into these cross-regional production networks. Slovakia is very well known as a big car manufacturer, the highest car manufacturing production per capita in the world. Czech Republic, Hungary, etc. is linked to that. And it's spreading somewhat. There are now car factories in Serbia, also in Romania. And I think one hopes that also the supplier network, the local suppliers, are benefiting from that. So I think this is one of the important big long-term development of sustainability that industry has shifted towards Central Europe. Of course, some other parts of Europe suffer partly from this concentration of industry in this Central European manufacturing hub. The problem is for some other regions which have suffered from a lack of export capacity. I mean, if you look at the Balkans, they have a continuous problem of current accounts, meaning they import much more than they export, and that has to be financed from capital from outside, and that is a fragile situation. Having lost basically the period of recovery of industry, like Central Europeans, because of the Yugoslav wars, they never recovered these foundations of export industries. So there we are more worried. And of course, Russia and Ukraine, we talked about that. Sustainability depends very much on a broadening and a recovery of the industrial base, and again on dealing with exporting capacity beyond energy. The Balkans is a region where a lot of mass emigration took place. So one important issue is to retain skilled people, to make it attractive to stay on. The other thing is that one cannot live on remittances of migrants alone. Yeah? So the important thing there is that if foreign investment takes place there, it should really go into the potential exporting sectors. It should not go into real estate wholesale, retail distribution. It should really support that these countries can stand on their own feet in terms of exporting capacity. And that was one of the big gaps prior to the crisis, and I think this attention should be there.